Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father.
Howdy, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we are discussing the 20th episode of Season 5, The Sentinel. SG-1 has traveled to a planet called Latona, where they learned that the Latonans, an ancient civilization, created a powerful weapon called the Sentinel to protect their planet from Goa'uld attack. However, the Sentinel has been damaged by a rogue NID team, and the Goa'uld are planning to attack the planet. SG-1 must repair the Sentinel and save it from destruction. SG-1 is able to find the Sentinel, but they discover that it requires a human life force to operate. Colonel Sean Graves, one of the members of the NID team, volunteers to sacrifice himself to power the Sentinel. He dies, but the Sentinel is activated and protects the planet from the Goa'uld fleet. Latona is saved, but SG-1 knows that the Latonans will never forgive them for what Greaves did.
And about half of your summary takes place in the last 30 seconds of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because half of what happens in the episode takes place in the last 30 seconds. Yeah. I think I joked earlier that I feel like you could call this episode Part A, trying to explain technology to a very old person, and Part B, trying to solve the magic Simon game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that.
Boop, boop, beep, boop. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this episode, Father?
Slow. It's not the worst episode by any stretch of imagination, but it is really slow. Obviously, it's a follow-up to Shades of Grey, the NID, showing the damage that NID did out in the universe, especially with Earth's reputation and things like that. But it's just slow. It like you guys are just saying, 5 minutes of the episode were the important part, the end, the last 5 minutes, and that was it. So, yeah, it was an okay episode, but like I said, slow.
Yeah, it was. It felt, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was overly long. Like, I liked that it was kind of a slow burner. Like, it worked with the characters they had, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Lisa?
It's a Planet of the Week, and I like that there was a callback to earlier season NID. We were getting that, even though they weren't characters we'd seen before, they were new, but they tried to make them look like we'd seen them.
Yeah.
They added them into previously on SG-1. They added them into the clips so that we'd think we'd seen them. But I'm with Father Cory a little bit because it was slow, but I think I enjoyed it. It's not one that I would sit and watch a lot. There's not, I don't know. I guess I'm mixed. There's parts of it I really liked, and then parts of it I was like, eh. So, but overall, I thought it was a good story.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good ideas in this episode. I like the idea of, using a UAV to paint the gun emplacements on the other side of the gate, then firing like the Hellfires or whatever through. I thought that was cool. There's a lot of really cool ideas in this. I don't think it ever really spreads its wings and reaches its full potential, but I do like it. It's one of my favorite just because it has Henry Gibson in it, who plays the earnest, trusting person so well when he's not playing the leader of the Illinois Nazis and fighting the Blues Brothers. But
I hate Illinois Nazis.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's always a treat when you see him pop up. I was watching an episode of The Fall Guy recently, and he showed up in that. So he's, shows up in everything over the past 50 years of shows and whatnot.
Well, and he's done comedy, and he was such a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of the ideas, he's underutilized in this as well. He has, I think, one scene that they split up, a bit, but, they never really revisit or close, circle back and close the loop with him. So yeah, I like the idea of it. They're shooting, there's, a cool alien city, but it never really, it could have gone to the next level, and it never really gets there for me.
Yeah, I feel like we only see 3 Latonans in the entire episode, and so they're this big city, and it looks like they put a lot of a lot more work into giving you this pretty unique like environment for this planet and these sets and stuff. Like it doesn't look like they just like threw up something quickly. You get like the cool map paintings in the background and everything, but the city feels totally empty because you have him, and then I think it's supposed to be his daughter comes in at one point, and then you have the guy who's running the Sentinel, the caretaker. You have him in a flashback, but that's it. And so you don't really get to know who the Latonians really are, other than this one guy who doesn't know how to use Zoom.
Yeah. And Jack at one point says, people are dying. And you're like, really? Like, we haven't seen any people die. We've seen like the shots come down from the Gould mothership and are kind of superimposed on the city. The city itself doesn't actually have any damage, like right after suffering a direct hit. So, but yeah. And but I mean, and this advanced alien weapon is like housed in like the brush pile where like the city dumps all the yard waste that people leave out at the curb or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's pile of branches and logs and leaves and everything. Yeah.
And it's in some random cave. Like you'd think it'd be deep underground or in the middle of the city or something. But I guess my headcanon for that can be this system was set up so long ago and the culture has regressed to become so tech illiterate that there used to be a building over it and it just collapsed over time and they don't really know because they don't go look at it. But then you have the guy who's running the caretaker who's controlling the system, and you don't really learn anything about him. Like, had he been there for hundreds of years and he had to guard it, or did they have like a succession or something? They don't really touch on any of that.
Yeah, and he doesn't actually run it.
Yeah.
He's just there to touch it if they're attacked and sacrifice himself.
Yeah, and it's I got the feeling like there was a succession of people who ran it, and this just happened to be the latest one, the guy that got shot. But it's and they did say that this society had regressed technologically where they're to the point of even just fixing the lights, that kind of thing. The lights just work, so they don't worry about it. They don't think about it, but they couldn't fix it if something did happen to their electrical supply, for example. So the idea of being able to work on the Sentinel is completely foreign to them. Now, I don't have a problem so much about how it was hidden. Maybe that was something that was done on purpose way back when to make it less noticeable from space, because you're just gonna see this pile of, that's just rubbish. Oh, wait, that pile of rubbish can now just wipe out your entire fleet in the blink of an eye.
And Jack, as you were describing the Sentinel, like, it was created hundreds of years ago. Nobody ever goes and looks at it. They've kind of, forget that it's even there. I was thinking it was a good metaphor for like the Bill of Rights. Something just people protects them. They take it for granted. Has to be renewed every once in a while with a caretaker. I don't know.
Touch it, you evaporate.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It requires sacrifice to. I don't know.
That's a common theme, though, in sci-fi is, this is super advanced technology that's protecting the people. And because the people are being protected by it, they don't realize, anything about it. They don't know anything about it just because it's there. It's passed into fable and story more than actual technology that they know how to work on.
Kind of like all the systems running in Fortran still that keep our world running that we don't really think about.
At least we still have people who know how to fix on those.
That's true.
Yeah.
No.
I tried to look at Fortran code one time and I felt like I was going to evaporate.
Yeah, I'm never even bothered.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I really liked Graves. He played that character well. Like, he was smarmy, but you didn't absolutely hate him, even though he was kind of awful. Like I disliked him, but he had charisma. I liked to dislike him, if that makes sense.
I don't know. There were a couple of times where I wanted to smack the stupid out of him, but just because he was to that point of like total arrogance.
Yeah.
Where like he's sitting there in the jail and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want anything to do with you. And oh, by the way, we're better than you." And who's in jail and who isn't? Who's facing the death penalty and who isn't?
Well, even when he's letting the caretaker die. I mean, I'm kind of with Jack on that one because I kind of liked that they didn't try to redeem him. They weren't. You weren't confused about who he was or who he was being. You know what I mean? There was no confusion there. He was the bad guy.
Because at least with Kershaw, you could see that she had changed, and she wasn't quite 100% fully on board with everything that Graves wanted to do. And even after he shot this guy, she's saying, we've got to save him. We've got to help him. We can't just let him die. And Greaves is like, nope. Don't even think about it.
He's like, I have my mission. I have my orders. This is it.
Yep.
Nothing else matters.
Have you forgotten that thing called America?
Yeah.
It was that kind of speech.
And I like that he basically was wedded to his mission to the point of being completely immoral about it. And I like that he wasn't doing it for personal gain. He was just like very ideologically obsessed with his mission. And I like that they didn't have him like try to betray the team at all. Like he was just obsessed with his mission. He did anything he could to accomplish it. And he was a pretty bad guy, but they didn't try to add in any like, is he going to actually help out the Gould or are the Gould going to give him an offering or something? So I like that they kept that fairly straightforward. It worked better.
Right.
And if they tried to do that, it either would have been confusing or it could have been, if they did it well, it'd have been really awesome. But I think there was a little, I don't say it felt like there was a little much explanation needing to happen in this episode that they, it just didn't quite like you said, the middle of it just didn't quite come together. So if they tried to throw that at us too, I'm like, oh, one more thing to try to figure out what's going on.
We get Christina Cox as Kershaw, and she was very good in this role. And she comes back in like probably the most like horror themed episode of Atlantis. It's actually like legitimately scary. Like when it's late in Atlantis and stuff, but she comes back as like part of like an all female Stargate SG team.
Nice. And she was in an earlier episode of Stargate.
Yeah.
That is Takaya. That was
she plays 3 different roles in the show.
Well, that's right. I forgot she was the creepy weird mouth face alien. Yeah.
The ones that were the spirits, right?
Yep.
On the planet.
Yep.
And I kept thinking, the actor who plays Sean Graves, he really looks familiar. It's Frank Cassini. He's been in a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
But I think I just got kind of like a Jason Statham vibe from him. I think that's what I was picking up on, like tough guy kind of thing without the accent, but
And apparently they were filming this on September 11th. So if there was kind of that theme of, being on mission and, supporting America, that could have come through as well from.
And then we didn't mention Grogan was back.
Sergeant or Lieutenant Grogan?
Exactly.
He's a little confused.
Yeah.
But he didn't get shot, though he did pass out and survived because he was asleep. I don't.
Yeah. That's pretty much. He passed out from manly exertion and fell asleep.
Yeah, because he's like just lying next to the road and he just kind of pops up. Thought that was unintentionally comedic.
I'm here too.
He's lying by the road and he actually picks up. Was it Jack? Wasn't it Jack that picked up his gun?
Yeah.
You guys like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't die. I mean,
yeah, that kind of went with his character from before, right?
Yep.
That he was always messing something up and getting fake shot or whatever. So it was kind of neat to see him pop up there.
He was the one who was being so rude to Henry Gibson, trying to get him to look at the camera.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of the whole episode. He's like, what do I say? Just say hello.
Yeah.
Just like coming up.
Hello. Yeah.
Was that Grogan or was that
I think that was Grogan.
I thought it was supposed to be an NID video.
Oh, well, yeah. Was it the original? It may have been the original. Yeah, from the original NID team.
I thought it was when they went through again.
No, I think it was. I think that was Greaves that was, and that's where Jack was reacting so strongly against him.
That makes more sense then that it wasn't Grogan.
Because you look at how Grogan reacted to Marul when Jack was there, and he was very respectful and explaining things, and you know, different characters. So no, I think that was Greaves, that Colonel Greaves, that was doing the video.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I do like the way Marul stood up to the Jaffa commander, though. It's like, it's like, and you will die. It's like, no, we won't serve. We won't die. It's just like completely taking a very courageous but detached from reality type stand there.
He finally figured out how to not be waffly about stuff.
Yeah, but it is funny though when like kind of the Jaffa like intimidation tactics, they come up against a race where they just don't work. It's like giant voice in the sky. It's like, you know, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. So it is kind of funny when like kind of the intimidation tactics that might work on a culture like, you know, 5,000 years ago don't work on.
Yeah.
More advanced.
You will bow to the power of the Goa'uld. Why?
Yeah. No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah. We're not going to force people to do that. Why should we do that?
Yeah. Trying to reason with the 4-year-old a little bit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I did notice, I know later on in like Atlantis, I feel like the gold emblems on their foreheads get less and less apparent. Because now they used to all be like that gold kind of almost looks like hot glue sometimes, like medallion thing on the forehead. But now it's just like the black markings. And I know I've seen a couple, I've not watched any Atlantis, but I've seen at least one picture where there's a gold and it's like barely there, like this little like mark.
Well, now
depends on the gold.
The gold ones, the golds are supposed to be the first prime. They're supposed to be the chief gold or chief Jaffa. But and then everybody else just has the
like the black mark.
I guess tattoo, basically.
Tattoo, yeah. And then you'll see people like Teal'c's buddy in the the Katano episode where he actually has like removed it, and so he has like scar tissue.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He used to go see a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you very strongly disagree with what NID is doing, but at the same time you can understand the frustration that this alien race has this weapon that they don't understand at all and they're not going to let anyone even look at it. Whereas I feel like if that's something you just reverse engineer, you could distribute that to every planet and that would take care of all your gold problems.
Yep, but look, they tried and they broke it.
Well, they didn't break it. They just kind of took away its power source by killing off the caretaker. They pulled the battery out. They let the batteries out.
Yeah. I love that Daniel says he recognizes the symbols and they're like, you can read that? He's like, no, but I can.
But I could read it because this says this and this says this.
I can conveniently read that, life force 2 is 1. You connect the dots there,
Yeah, but they were sent to reverse engineer it, and yet they had no idea. Like, there's markings all over it, and they're like, meh, can't read it.
Yep.
We'll just...
Yeah. No one accidentally touched it, I guess, which is good.
Or touched the handles, I guess, as they were taking it apart or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that part wasn't too, well thought out. But I did like the embarkation scene as they're going through the gate first, and they're, Kershaw says, I feel much better knowing an archaeologist has my back, and Daniel has his tactical knife. He's like, what end do the bullets go in again? Yeah. So I thought that was a very funny scene. And then in the end, it was the archaeologist that, got him into the force field and figured out the riddle of the Sentinel.
Well, Greaves was sitting there mocking him, and it's taking all this time to figure this out, and Daniel's like, shut up, I'm trying to listen to this. I think I've got to figure it out. Okay, now I got it.
Yeah.
Why don't you go help, shoot something, and I'll solve it for you,
I was kind of impressed with Daniel's ability that she says, do you even know what you're looking for? And what does he say? The mathematical progression of the harmonics in each given pattern relative to I'm like, why do you know that?
I don't know.
Because he's Daniel. He knows everything.
Yeah. Perfect pitch, I guess.
He took a music theory class in college.
Isn't he supposed to have like a bajillion degrees or something?
Yeah.
So maybe
like career student. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he did learn something about The science of music. I don't know.
I was gonna say after his parents were crushed by the giant styrofoam block, he turned to music to work through his grief.
He was adopted by Alfred, lived in a manor. But I thought the music was very well done. It kind of reminded me almost of like Whale Song a little bit, but at least at the beginning, some of the tones and whatnot. But I did like that part. Yeah, and then they fend off like an entire platoon of Jaffa with like one, P90 and a staff blast and like a Beretta with like
1911.
Yeah, Daniel gives Greaves his sidearm, but no extra magazines, which is kind of like, here you go. Maybe
just get out of my way, basically.
Half a Jaffa at this point.
Yeah. I did notice that Teal'c was a lot more accurate shooting that staff weapon than in the episode a couple of times ago. What was it, Warrior?
Yeah.
Where they were having them demonstrate the staff weapon and the guy, only hit the log like once every 10 times. And oh no, Teal'c was much better at it.
And taking lessons from Carter. Yep.
Yeah. And you notice she was doing the military fighting role versus the science tech role this time.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel got to do the science tech role.
Yeah.
I guess that's because it's more of a anthropological angle to it. Because it's ancient technology and he's kind of the archaeologist for the team. As good an explanation as any.
Maybe he just had been lightly used the last few episodes and he needed something to do.
So I guess their whole, and this is my biggest problem with the episode, was that you don't really get any sort of explanation for why the device works the way it does. And I'm assuming that the idea is that it's so powerful that you would only want to use it in dire need when someone would have to sacrifice themselves to use it. I guess that's the idea. But that got me thinking, what if you got a dog to use it? Like, does it differentiate between human life or animal life? Like,
I think you need thumbs. You need opposable thumbs in order to grip the thing.
Chimpanzees.
Do they have opposable thumbs?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, probably then, but not cats.
Some cats have thumbs.
Train your cat.
Yeah, and parakeets are right out.
Get some Hemingway's cats.
If you let a cat run it, everybody would be dead except the cat.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
They do.
Like the entire planet would be wiped out except that cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
My cat is looking at me angrily now, so that's what we're talking about. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, the weapon is just kind of a MacGuffin, but I wanted to know more about it.
Yeah, but they're not going to let them research it, probably.
Nope.
And we'll never hear about it again.
Nope.
Well, speaking of never hear of again, we meet Savrog, however you pronounce his name, in the two-parter Summit Last Stand, and then he dies in this one. That's it.
Yep.
He lasted a couple episodes.
At least we got to see him again, right?
Yeah, hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Briefly.
So is this one that, I know that whenever they list off like the list of names of the cool, the SG-1 is like taken out. Like half of them SG-1 didn't even really take out. So this is probably another one they'll get credit for, even though it was,
they were there.
That,
Is it on their little, what do you call it? Like the list of,
their kill list. Their
list.
Their death note.
It doesn't sound good, does it? No.
Yeah. Kind of like aircraft where they paint the aircraft they knock down,
Just
somewhere in SGC
snakes.
there's a little plaque where they chisel in every enemy that SG-1 kills.
Isn't that what football players on their helmets, they have all those stickers, aren't those for like tackles
sometimes
or something?
like tackles.
So that they could do that on their uniforms. They could
it's
have
not the number of concussions they've received.
No.
They could have like patches on their sleeve.
Yeah, they could,
Or on their
They could have like those punch cards you get at Subway, and when they kill 5 ghoul, they get a free foot long.
There you go.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
I'm gonna
redeemable only in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get Jello.
Yeah, there you go. That's every time they're getting Jello from the cafeteria. That's because they've killed off another gold.
There you go.
That or Fruit Loops.
Oh yeah.
And we again see Walter wearing Major Davis's clothes again.
Yes.
Yeah,
or at least his patch.
Yeah.
That is so funny. I wish we'd asked Malazi about that. If that was intentional or a screw up, or we've got to have him back because we've got a list.
Because at this point, did they formally give him his last name, Harriman?
What would they've given him Walter? Because
we knew it was Walter.
Yeah.
At this point. That was 2010 is when we knew that.
But that name tag didn't say Walter. It said...
No, Norman.
Norman, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh.
It was just the extra uniform laying around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I know they also, on the keyboards, they would rearrange the letters to say some not safe for television kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a reason why you don't see the keyboards very often.
Yeah. But I wonder if it's one of those things where, I mean, I guess this is 2002, so at that point, HDTV was, you might be worrying more about the patches, but I don't know. Thinking no one would notice. That's what they got to realize, though, is that when you're making a sci-fi show, nerds are going to like comb through it and ask every question about every single inconsistency.
Yeah.
But by this point, they were. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
I don't know. I guess if I was a showrunner on a show, I would throw in inconsistencies just to mess with the audience. So they would talk about it.
That's true.
Yeah. Just play with them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, though. I mean, there are shows that are really good about that. And then you have like Star Trek where they just kind of make things up on the fly, it seems like. No. Just kidding.
A lot of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
I like in Lower Decks, they actually point that out with the inconsistencies of the rank pips. At one point, they have a character whose pips are always changing, and someone asks him about it, and it's actually like a piece of corn that got stuck to his collar.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So,
yeah.
That was good.
I did read online that Joseph Malazzi was not a fan of this episode. That he said it was a misfire. So.
Yeah, I could see how, like I said, there was a lot of potential here that it never really came together. Mainly in, Henry Gibson's character never really, went anywhere. But yeah, it's one I'd like watching, because it's shooty and, there's alien technology and Henry Gibson's in it. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to see how they had to solve the problem. I always think that's interesting. And so using the sounds to try to get past the force field, and then it wasn't a technical, they put it back together wrong. There was a human component. Like, I like that. I like that the steps that were there rather than just blow it up,
And I like that there was like the NID team was like just as smart, if not smarter than SG-1, because I don't think Carter could have taken that apart and with Daniel put it back together.
It's kind of wrong though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like SG-1's supposed to be the best and the brightest of everybody, and there's other people that are just as smart.
But they would have realized the human component like right away and stuff, so they wouldn't have needed to take it apart. They'd be like, well, we can't use this because it'll kill somebody to fire it off, so.
They wouldn't have shot the guy either, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice because they could have gone the route of them just being bumbling idiots, and that's kind of what the SG team assumes throughout the episode, but then you see they didn't put it together wrong. They're just evil.
Yeah.
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 How do you feel about Greaves, him sacrificing himself at the end? Do you feel like that was a redemption for him, or do you feel like he was just at the end of his rope and he did what he had to do? Like,
I think it's
he
a
was
redemption.
trying to redeem himself.
Yeah,
did he know he was going to die?
I think so. I think he's not.
I think he knew, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a redemption. I think once he realized what it meant to become one, once he realized what that meant, he was willing to do it. He didn't even argue about it. He just did it, and it kind of, he realized he's the one that caused the problem and he's the one who fixed the problem.
He was also standing right there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yep.
It's not like Kershaw was going to jump up and do it.
Tortured and, by the Jaffa, or be the hero. So.
Well, the irony, of course, is the two NID characters who are going to get the death penalty anyways, they both die. But they die as heroes, not villains.
Yep. You either die a hero or live long enough to not
die a hero.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
Nope. I think we talked. I think we've talked more about this episode than this episode had for plot. So,
100%.
Yeah.
It's got Henry Gibson in it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There was a really cute, quippy scene with Teal'c in the beginning at the
table.
Yeah. We didn't mention that one. Yeah. That's all I
got. Awesome. We have some feedback from Victoria. She sent an email to stargate@sqpn.com, and she says, "First off, I wanted to thank you for this podcast. It has been great fun rewatching SG-1 alongside listening to this and hearing everyone's perspectives. When I watched the show a decade ago, Carter was one of my favorite characters. Season 2's Secrets further cemented that for me. I love that she's strong and smart, but also emotional and not afraid to hide her feelings. Thanks to Amanda Tapping's wonderful performance of her. Carter is an excellent role model in many ways for young women on how you don't have to lose your emotional side to be a capable professional. I can't wait to see her and the rest of the SG-1 team as I continue through this rewatch. But to a woman like me, Carter will always be the star of the team." Thanks, Victoria. Really appreciate your feedback. Yeah. And that actually got me thinking. Stargate does a much better job with its women characters than Star Trek has.
Mm-hmm.
With Sam, like, for all that Star Trek talks about, like, moving forward the roles of women in television, Sam Carter is a much more well-rounded, realistic person who's not just there for either eye candy or to be like weird and emotionless, like a lot of like thinking to Paul. I guess she was kind of
the Mary Sue character or something like that,
right? Yeah, she's a well-rounded, realized character who's not just there for check marks or to get views. So I definitely agree with that. She's a really good.
I would say I was in my still in my 20s, I think, when the show came out, and yeah, she was definitely one of the main draws for me to watch the show. Was her being a strong character, and they avoided what so many other sci-fi shows did in that time period, which was put them in suggestive clothing, not give them a real purpose. I mean, they gave her a purpose. They kept her in her military clothes for the most part. A couple of hiccups there in the beginning, but they respected her as a person, and she was one of the team. She wasn't the girl on the team. She was, one of the team. And so for me, as a young professional woman in the 90s and early 2000s, yeah, it was a huge reason why I watched the show.
Yeah, for the eye candy, they use the Tok'ra women like
that's
Vanessa
right.
Angel, you know.
They tried. It didn't go well, but they
tried.
It
didn't go very well, but they tried.
That's always been my big problem with Voyager, because I think that's my favorite Star Trek series just because it's the one I grew up watching, so I have nostalgia for it. But I always I kind of didn't like 7 of 9 just because her character was so poorly done. And so it's been nice to see in the newer shows actually giving her making her more realistic characters, not just there in a really awful outfit.
What was wrong with her outfit? I didn't notice anything wrong with her outfit.
We'll discuss that offline.
Yeah, y'all could discuss that without me. The other thing you see about Carter is that if you watch shows, especially sci-fi shows nowadays with women characters, it's like they have a chip on their shoulder and they have something to prove. They're always, and we got that in the very first episode with her with like, my reproductive organs are on the inside, which was a horrible little
in emancipation as well.
Yeah, and emancipation. But then after that, they just let her be a person, and she didn't have a chip on her shoulder. She didn't have anything extra to prove. She just was one of the team. And I feel like if they redo when they bring back Stargate, I just worry that they're not going to do that with their female characters. I feel like they're going to regress and we're going to prove that we're equal to men or we're whatever. And it's like, they did that already and they did it beautifully.
Well, I think if the people who did The Expanse, the series The Expanse, the women characters in there, by and large, were very well done, similar type of things where they were, real people. You had, what was her name? Sergeant Draper. Was that her name, or was that the actress's name? Anyways, the one female sergeant from Mars, who she was military, she was strong, she was fighter. but could also be emotional and could also be, things like that. So if they take over Stargate, do the new series or do the new movies or whatever they're going to do, that could be fantastic. I mean, again, they could have those kind of characters that are, well-rounded characters, well-done characters.
Yeah. I mean, Stargate Universe had really deep, well-rounded characters. The only issue was that was kind of the focus of the entire first season was just the characters. I mean, granted the plot too and stuff, but they kind of doubled down on the characters and the reactions between the characters and kind of lost that, hey, this is supposed to be a gripping space yarn as well and not just about, the drama. But they did have very good women characters on that show from what I can recall.
I don't know. We can talk about that when
well,
we get there.
Except for the one who turned into a bug or whatever.
Yeah, I pretty much hated all the women on that show.
Oh.
So.
on Universe?
Yeah. Well, you had the one that was sleeping with her captain and then I mean,
that happens in the military.
That happens in real life.
Yeah.
I want to see a crossover between Alien and Stargate now and have Sam Carter and Amanda Ripley team up. Because she's another one of the best women characters in sci-fi. That'd be awesome to see.
Let me Google that. There has to be fanfic of that.
No.
Let's
Stay
I think that's a good place
to.
Awesome. But yes, thank you so much for that feedback, Victoria.
Yeah, great feedback.
We love hearing from people, and we like that you're enjoying watching and listening along. I've been really enjoying getting into Stargate. And before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Catherine L., Ross S., James H., Sam Y., and Brent D. Their generous donations at sqpn.com make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give, and be sure to follow all the shows in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. And to find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate, and you can email us, like Victoria did, at stargate@sqpn.com, or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. And be sure to check out the SQPN Discord channel at sqpn.com/Discord. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, Meridian. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining us and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thank you, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. Better late than never, I always say. Yep, I always say that.
Amen. And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?